Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Star Wars actor John Boyega, who plays Finn in the sequel trilogy, apparently has changed his outlook on a potential return to the franchise. As the 3 films in Star Wars' sequel trilogy were being released, actor John Boyega was the unfortunate target of some fans, which led him to receiving unnecessary hate, verbal abuse, and even threats. But it goes on so much more than just that. Aside from that, his character was pushed to the side, and he had been marketed originally as to be the main character, but after the first movie, he was pushed to the side and didn't have a lot going on from there. Let's not forget to mention that Disney purposely removed his character off of multiple Star Wars posters when released in other countries. There was a lot that went on with John Boyega and his role within Star Wars overall and the sequel trilogy that made him not want to return. These actions were racially motivated by the so-called fans, and that experience, along with the underrepresentation of Boyega and other non-white actors on screen during the films, ultimately led Boyega expressing no interest in wanting to return to a galaxy far, far away. However, recently that's all been turned upside down. John Boyega is apparently now open to a Star Wars return, potentially in the near future. In a recent interview with TechRadar.com, Star Wars actor John Boyega had expressed that he would ultimately make a return to the Star Wars universe sometime in the future under the right conditions. The actor came right out and said that he would be open to reprising his role as Finn, especially if the characters and scripts are enjoyable. The actor even mentioned his past comments about what he had to deal with both on and off the sequel trilogy sets, and had claimed that they are now in the past. As he says, in quote, "Those comments were a few years ago, so they are the subject of that particular project, but I'm open to all characters and scripts that are enjoyable, have a great cast attached and a terrific director, so yeah, I'm open to all opportunities," ending that quote right there. It for sure seems that he's now more open just in general with wanting to return to Star Wars if he got the right call and if it was the right script, enjoyable characters, if it simply made sense, because we know that John Boyega is quite a big Star Wars fan himself, and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to Star Wars. He knows what a good script might look like, and if it has a right plan and everything like that. That's exactly the type of thing that not only he's looking for, but us as Star Wars fans would be looking for too. And it really seems as though that Boyega has changed his mind regarding the franchise, and specifically coming back to reprise his role as Finn. The last time the actor made a statement on the topic was in August of last year, 2022, when he had stated that Finn is at a good confirmation point into the regards of the films, and that the sequel trilogy was enough for him. It felt satisfying enough, and he didn't want to do anything else or more. However, there were also other instances of where Boyega straight up said that he would not be returning to the franchise, and that he would want nothing to ever do with it in the future. The comments that Boyega has referred to in his most recent interview are from past sit-downs and instances of where the actor has opened up about his unfortunate negative experiences working on the sequel trilogy. In September of 2020, in an interview, John Boyega specifically talked about being racially attacked by some members of the Star Wars fanbase. The actor has even admitted to receiving death threats due to his race, and how many people publicly said that they would boycott the movie due to Boyega's involvement. As he says that, in quote, "Nobody else in the cast had people saying that they were going to boycott the movie because they were in it. Nobody else had an uproar and death threats sent to their Instagram DMs and social media saying that black this and black that and you shouldn't be a stormtrooper. Nobody else had that experience, but yet people are surprised that I'm this way. That's my frustration." Ending that quote right there, the only thing to say about that is us as Star Wars fans need to be supportive. We need to do better. We need to learn, move forward. It's simply just Star Wars, and at the end of the day, it's supposed to be enjoyable. It's not that deep of where you need to be sending people death threats because of a simple thing of the way that they look. That's ridiculous. It's almost like a repeat of what happened with the prequel trilogy. Death threats were sent to Jake Lloyd, who plays young Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace. Same thing goes for Ahmed Best, who plays Jar Jar Binks. However, has since then returned to play Kelleran Beck in The Mandalorian Season 3. He's definitely given it a second chance and has been enjoying it and flourishing with it. The reason though, however, that so many prequel actors, cast and crew members have stepped away and have not wanted anything to do with the franchise is because of things like that, of the fan base. Now, in that same interview, John Boyega also referenced how his character in the sequel trilogy was sidelined after being such an important character in The Force Awakens, and it does feel off-putting. How are you going to market him as the main character, make him the main lead pretty much throughout the entirety of the movie, and then for the last 5-10 minutes, switch it up, and from there, sideline him all of a sudden, and he's a side character, and he's not that important anymore. He discusses a little bit with that in this quote, "I'm the only cast member who had their own unique experience of that franchise based on their race." Let's just leave it at that. If it makes you angry with a process like that, it makes you much more militant. It changes you, because you realize, I got given this opportunity, but I'm in an industry that wasn't even ready for me. Ending that quote right there. He's also kind of jabbing at the idea that the sequels weren't ever planned from the beginning. They're kind of random, and there was a big lack of communication throughout the creation of them. A lot of which has to deal with why his character of Finn being sidelined and wasn't necessarily a main character from there on out. Okay, so with this all here being said, and of how bad of a past and experience that John Boyega has had with Star Wars overall, what's going on for him in the future? Why does he want to return? He now is saying that he does and would be open to the idea of returning, as I had mentioned earlier on at the beginning of this video. Of course, remember, with the right script, the right characters, a terrific director, and everything like that, things that make sense and something that would actually be planned, unlike the sequel trilogy, what project could John Boyega return in a galaxy far, far away? Now, there are plenty of upcoming Star Wars projects on the horizon. Just look at this past year's Star Wars Celebration. We had 3 new films that were announced, but none of the potential to include Finn, as much as Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's directed film that will star the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker, set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, and is about Rey bringing up a new Jedi Order. What would that look like with Finn? John Boyega and Ridley obviously shared the screen quite a bit during the sequel trilogy. Their characters formed a close relationship across the 3 movies, so that seems like the most likely place for Boyega to make his comeback in Star Wars, for sure. Some rumors have claimed that Boyega is already set to return, and that it just hasn't been announced officially by Lucasfilm yet, and based on John Boyega's latest comments, that could very well be true, and something that we could look forward to later on. Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's Star Wars movie is a discussion that will take place 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker, as I had mentioned, and seeing as Finn and how him and Rey both made it through to the end of that film, The Rise of Skywalker, on good terms, it would make sense for the 2 characters to still be in contact, and to maybe appear together in that movie. Other given projects of where Finn or John Boyega could make his return as Finn in Star Wars could have the potential to be maybe somewhere in the Mandoverse, the events that will lead up to the events of the sequel trilogy, set 30 years before. Of course, given that it would be quite some time, and that he would have to be very, very young by the time that they reach the events of The Force Awakens, it's still an interesting idea to think about. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys all think, and what would you want to see with the return of John Boyega in a galaxy far, far away. Guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Have a great one. This has been Unofficial Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.